Hi, so in today's project I'm going to show you how to make a set of note cards, something similar to the Beauty Abounds set that I did a few months ago in a giveaway, but I'm using a different set of colours, a different size card, and I'm going to show you how to make a different envelope and a different box. So I'm using the same stamp set, which is the Beauty Abounds, but in different colours. Now, I got this idea in our catalogue, our annual catalogue. This is the main catalogue that's still current until June. On page 193, we sell note cards and envelopes. And again, I've used these before. You've seen me use them in a video if you follow my channel. And these note cards are pre-scored for you in thick whisper white. And this size note card is 5 by 3.5. And they come in a pack with the envelopes and everything ready for you. But in the catalogue, we also do a slim note card and envelope, which is 2.5 by 4.5, and the envelope opens on the top. So I decided that I would make my own. If you've followed any of my recent videos on my channel, you'll know that I've been making slimmer cards. And this one is even slimmer. So I'm going to show you what I've done so far. Then I'm going to make one card, one envelope, and show you how to make the box to put it all in. Now, as I said, I'm using Beauty Abounds and I'm using the Flourish from it. And in this video, I'm also using the Stampin' Up watercolor pencils. And there are 13 pencils in the set. And I'll just run through the colours. You get Real Red, Calypso Coral, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, Old Olive, Bermuda Bay, Pacific Point, Rich Raspberry, Melon Mambo, Early Espresso, Basic Grey, Basic Black and Whisper White. So I'm going to be using these pencils, as I say, with this stamp, but I'm also going to be using, for the envelopes, 6x6 Designer Series paper from the Gingham Gala and the Subtle stack. The paper that I'm using doesn't absolutely match the pencils, but because it's Stampin' Up, it all works together. So I'm using 2 pieces from the Subtles and 2 pieces from the Gingham Gala, and I'll show you what I've done so far. So in the pencils, there's Calypso Coral. This is Calypso Coral for my envelope. I've coloured in the flower with Calypso Coral. All the green I've coloured in Old Olive, and then for the fronds I've used Flirty Flamingo. So that's one card. I've made the cards so they're a top opening card and they fit into the envelopes. So that's the first one. The next one, I've used Blushing Bride from the Subtle stack. And in the pencils, I've used Melon Mambo for the pink. Again, I've used the same Old Olive and the same Flirty Flamingo. And again, top opening. And I've matted the flower onto Melon Mambo here. And on here, I've matted onto Calypso Coral. So hopefully you can see where I'm going. This one, I've used Balmy Blue. I've used Pacific Point as the blue. And I'm going to use Balmy Blue for the envelope, which is from the Gingham Gala. And then the last colour I'm using which I'm going to do with you. I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight for the flowers, the Old Olive again, and the Flirty Flamingo. This is Daffodil Delight card and Daffodil Delight from the Gingham Gala. So I'm going to have 2 envelopes that are gingham and 2 envelopes that are the spots from the Subtles. And then I'm going to make a box to put it all in. I've used a simple thanks stamp from an old retired set, so you could use anything. This could be happy birthday, just a note, anything you like. I've used thanks. So they're the ones I've done so far. Now I've made up my yellow envelope, and it's the yellow card that I'm going to be making. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to colour this all in yellow and put this card together, but the envelope will be done in blue to show you how to make it, and then I'll do the box. So I'm going to use Daffodil Delight, Calypso Coral for the fronds, Old Olive for the leaves, and a blender pen. Piece of scrap paper on the side. So I'm just going to colour in the flowers with the Daffodil Delight, just roughly with the pencil. And these pencils are new to me, but I absolutely love them. Especially with the blender pen. It just makes it look like you've used blends, you know, the alcohol markers. So just colour them in. Get your blender pen and just go over the colour, and it'll all blend in for you, and it'll take away all your pencil lines. Just clean the blender pen on a scrap of paper. I'm going to colour in the leaves now with the Old Olive. I absolutely love this stamp set. I've used it loads. Okay, same again, blender pen. Just push the colour around. And it just takes all your pencil lines away. It's brilliant. Clean it on some scrap, and then last bit, just these fronds. And although I've changed the flower colour on each of the cards, the frond that I'm colouring in now and the leaves have all been done in the same colour. So hopefully it kind of ties it all together. And I think these would be great gift sets, you know, for anybody really. Just give them to a family member or teacher gifts. Not sure how well you're going to see this with the light. The light's failing on me now. It's getting darker, but they'd be great at craft fairs or anything. So now I'm just going to apply some snail to the back. I'm going to stick this onto the card. I'm going to bring in my base card. Now this was a piece of A4 card that I chopped down to 9 inches. And then once I'd got the 9 inches, I rotated it and I cut them at 2.5. So they become 2 by 4.5. The matting layers are 2.25 by 4.25. And the white stamped layer is 2 by 4. So that's how it's looking. Going to bring in my pad to give me some cushioning. I've got my thanks stamp mounted up and I'm using Memento black, and I'm just going to stamp it on the bottom. And then I'm just going to clean it on my Simply Scrub. So there is the card. I'm just going to bring in my Wink of Stella and put some Wink of Stella over the yellow. Just to give it some sparkle. And as I said, I've already made the envelope. But now I'm going to show you how to make the envelope in a different colour to go with the blue one. So now I'm bringing in my envelope punch board. I'm starting with a piece of 6x6 designer series paper. I'm going to line it up at 3 3/4. So that's here. So the edge of the paper is at 3 3/4. I'm going to punch and score. And that's the only measurement you need. So now I'm going to line the score guide up with the line I've just made. And then I'm going to continue doing that on the remaining 3 sides. So lining the score guide up with the score line I've just made, punch and score, turn, going to turn it over, fold and burnish the score lines. Now when you bring in the biggest sides, you'll see that the tip just overlaps the fold line a little. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut in a straight line about 1/2 inch off each of the big sides. I'm going to bring in the small section and apply some adhesive just along here, and I'm using the width of my snail. I'm going to fold that one over, so that's going to be held together there. And then this one, I'm going to put adhesive here and here. And again, I'm using the width of my snail. Because when it overlaps, you've got quite a big area on this side where you can stick it. So if you just fold it down, don't push the sides in too much. You want it to have a bit of give for your card to go in it. So now if I bring in my blue card, that will slide in there and fasten. So I've got my balmy blue. I need to put some Wink of Stella on these flowers, but I'll do it in a few minutes. I've got my pink, my Calypso coral and my yellow. So that's my set of 4. I'm going to show you how to make the box and then we're nearly finished. Okay, so for the box you need 2 pieces, but one of them is ever so slightly smaller than the other. So what I've done, I've cut one at 7 inches by 4 3/4, and that's cut exactly on the 7-inch mark on my ruler and exactly at the 4 3/4 mark on my ruler. And that's going to be the lid. And then the other one, what I've done, I've cut it so that it's a hair under 7 inches. Now it's not the 6 15/16, and it's not the 7, it's in between. I'll try and show you on the ruler. So there's the 7-inch mark. Let me get my piercing tool. There's the 7-inch mark, and the little tiny mark before it is 15/16. I've cut this piece of card so it's in between the two. I'll try and hold it up and I'll show you, like so. You can see it's just under the 7, and I've done exactly the same on the 4 3/4. It's a hair under the 4 3/4. So this is going to be the base. So it's not a 16th, it's in between the 16th and the 3/4. Just a tiny fraction. I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and on the 7-inch side I'm going to score it at 1 inch on all 4 sides. So I say it's just not quite 7 inches. Just going to go over these again. So that's the base. I'm going to bring the lid in, and I've made a shim. So I've got the same type of card, which is Whisper White thick, and I've just cut a piece and I've folded it in half. I'm just going to stand that in the corner and just butt the card up to it. I don't want the card to go underneath it. I'm just butting it up to this piece of double folded card. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to score it at 1 inch on all 4 sides. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is quite thick card. And if I cut them at both exactly the same and use the shim, they will probably work, but I'm just making doubly sure. So I'm going to put the lid on one side, and I'm going to bring in the base, and I'm going to fold and burnish on all 4 of the score lines. Okay, so I'm going to cut up to the left of the score line to the first horizontal line, and then I'm going to cut a wedge out like a piece of pizza, like so. And I'm going to do the same on the outside, and I'm going to come and do the same on this side. So I'm cutting to the right of the score line here and wedging. So effectively you're cutting away your score line, and then I'm just going to cut. Then I'm going to turn it round and cut on the opposite sides. So it doesn't matter if you cut up here and here on the long side, so long as you do the opposite. I started on the short side, so I'm turning it round and I'm going to cut on the opposite short side. So that's what I've got. So now this is the right side up. I'm going to put glue on the 4 corner tabs, and I'm going to be using Tombow because this is thick card and it's a box and I want it to stay together. So I'm just going to do a little bit. You don't need a lot, just going to spread it. I'm not squeezing any glue out now, I'm just literally spreading around what's here. So I'm going to fold the tab in and I'm going to put this cut line against that fold line and hold it in place just for a few seconds until it grabs. And I've got a couple of pegs handy, so I'm just going to peg it and then fold this one in and do the same. So you bring in the cut edge to the folded edge. You're not going over, you're just going to the right to the edge. And again, I'm going to hold it in place just for a few minutes and peg it. And then I'm going to do the same with these two. So I'm going to put glue on these 2 flaps. So you don't need a lot because you don't want it oozing out everywhere. You just want it to be able to grab. So this should be okay now. So I'm going to do the same on this side. Fold this one in. Hold it in place for a minute and then put the peg on it. That one's all perfect now. And then that one will be the same in a few minutes. So this is the base. And now I'm going to do exactly the same with the lid. So this is the side I've scored it on. So I'm turning it over and I'm folding on the score lines. And then I'm going to repeat. So I'm going to cut up and wedge out. And whichever end or side you start on, just do the same on the opposite. So if you start cutting on the short side, do your opposite short side. I've just not wedged that end off there on that side. Okay. Going to put the cover on my snips because these are very sharp. Again, this is the right side up. I'm going to apply some glue. Let's get that one lined up. Put the lid on my glue, give that a few seconds. So that's how it's looking. So that fits in lovely now. There is a little bit of give, but that's okay. I'd rather it be a little bit than too tight or too small. So that's your base and your lid of your box. I'm just going to measure. So this is about 2 7/8 by 5. So I'm going to cut piece of card that is 2 5/8 by 4 7/8. And that should sit on there nicely. I'm going to bring in the flourish from Beauty Abounds. I'm going to ink up the stamp with Memento, and I'm going to stamp it fairly centrally to this piece of card. Just going to clean this stamp. So I've got my stamping scrub and some cleaning mist. I'm going to bring in this speckle design from this stamp. Now, the colours that I used in the cards were watercolour pencils. I used Melon Mambo, Old Olive, Flirty Flamingo, Calypso Coral. What I'm going to do, and I used, the paper I used was Blushing Bride. So I've used a mixture of colours. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my Blushing Bride ink, and I'm going to stamp up this splodge, and I'm just going to stamp over the flowers. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to bring in Flirty Flamingo. And do the same. And I'm just going to do that one top and bottom. So we've got Flirty Flamingo at the top and Blushing Bride in the middle. And then I'm just going to choose one of the colours of the pencil and just lightly colour the flowers. And because these colours are all colours that I've used in the cards, hopefully it will tie it together. Now, I've not made this before, I'm just doing this as I go along, so hopefully it will be okay. And at the end of the day, if it's not, it's a bit of paper and I can start again. So I'm going to bring in my blender pen and I'm just going to blend over the blue on the flowers. And I'm only touching the card lightly because obviously I'm mindful that I've stamped those other colours in the background. Got a piece of scrap paper here, and then I'm going to do the same with the leaves. So I've got my Old Olive, and I'm just going to lightly colour in the leaves. So again, I'm going to bring the blender pen in and I'm just going to blend out the green. And using the blender pen with your watercolor pencils just really evens out your strokes so you don't see your pencil lines. I'm going to bring in my Calypso Coral and just go over these 3 frondy bits. And again, bring in the blender pen and just blend that in. So I'm going to stick this on the top of the box. I'm going to use Snail. So that's how the box is looking. And then I just need to put my cards in it. What I could do, good old faithful wink of Stella. Just go over the flowers. I absolutely love Wink of Stella. It's one of the best things I've ever bought. I use it all the time. I don't know how well the sparkle is going to come over on camera, but it's lovely. It's subtle, but it's lovely. Okay, so that's on the front of the box. Now on the lid, I'm going to bring in my set of 4 cards and envelopes. So here they are. So I've got 2 in the Gingham Gala, 2 in the Subtles. They're going in. My 4 cards all going in. And my lid on my box. So that's another way of making some quick cards as a gift idea using basic white cardstock and the Beauty Abounds stamp set. And again, if anybody would like to win this, leave me a comment underneath this video. I'll leave it open for a couple of weeks from once the video goes live. And please make sure you subscribe to my channel, give the video a thumbs up, and I'll draw a name at random. It's UK only, I'm afraid. I can't send anything like this out of the UK. I just don't know what state it'd be in when it got there. So UK only. Subscribe, leave me a comment under the video, and I'll draw a name at random and I'll give it away. So I hope you like the project. As I say, I know I've used this before, but it's a different style box and a different size and a different set of colours. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.